This is season 2, episode 9, where we are collecting life lessons from a dear friend whom I've been fortunate to work with. And I think that was his first job that he started off with us. This is Privil for you. For all of you who remembered, Privil was there in one of the sessions where we collected life lessons on happiness. And we unfortunately lost him because of internet issues. And on popular demand, we wanted to bring him back because I also wanted to make sure that his life lessons are also shared on the platform, because I think it's beautiful for a 25-year-old lad, for a Gen Y kid to have gone through what he's gone through and to also understand the nitty-gritties of life is not that easy. But I think he's beautified complexities in life and he's seen life differently. And I really wanted to bring this story in front of all of you so that you can all collect this life lesson from him and take it back and probably implement one or two of his tips in your life. Privil, thank you so much for being with us today here. And I hope you're completely prepped and ready for the session.
Thank you so much, Kripa. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this session, in fact.
Super. Okay. So without further ado, Previl, let's quickly get into it. The way I know you is you're a happy-go-lucky kid. You're extremely happy always. And I don't know if you even sleep with a smile on your face. And you're, for everything that has been told you, you always say thank you, thank you. I've seen you say thank you to anybody and everybody on the streets. I think, it's just viral happiness that you spread. Have you always been like this from your childhood? As a kid, have you been somebody who's always been happy, very grateful? So just wanted to know, we'll start from there and then take it forward. So from where did this happiness come from? Are you born with it?
Oh, not really. If I dig back to my childhood, to be honest, I hardly had any friends back at school. I always tried to keep my teachers happy, my parents happy. I was most of the times I was a person who used to do these checklist tasks. It was all about executing a flowchart in this program called life. So it was all about, I used to follow certain things, what was said to be right. And I did things for the sake of getting it done. However, I didn't feel I had passion for it. But I am not saying that I've done a mistake for it by doing these things, but I just did things because I had to do. It was more about, scoring good marks, achievements, getting good comments, appreciation, external validation, people pleasing. So I think I did things only for me, but then it was more of to pleasing people. So I will not say that I was not happy with what was happening. However, it was just that, I was trying to maintain an image and a struggle, which actually gave rise to a lot of self-thinking, questioning. So a special thing that I want to share here is like a teacher's pet. If I was to make my teachers happy, it was about going against my own classmates at times, So I would be any parent's ideal kid, but I'm sure even today I will be in the hit list of some of my school friends for having complained against them to my teacher. So this is all about my childhood.
Right. Now, I actually want to come back and pull back a thread from what you said of saying, you were never born with it. So I want to know from where did it change and all that. Before that, you said something about external validation, right? Saying, you wanted that external validation. I think a lot of us actually crave for that external validation. We think we have achieved something only when we get validated, and especially your generation, I'm sure, Privil, with social media and everything that's happening, right? We only go by the likes, we go by how many people commented on our posts, and it's mostly about saying, okay, are people accepting us and what are people saying about us? It makes a lot of difference on that, right? And you said you also were like wanting to be a teacher's pet, obviously means will come with its own cons as well. How do you deal with external validation? Because today I don't think you're a person like that. For all of you who are listening, this is not Privil. I mean, I know that we started on a different note, but I know that he is a very humble and a grateful person. And from where how did you drop external validation then? Or have you dropped it yet or no?
So I will not say, I'm perfect or something, but it is a process in itself. This instance happened in my life back in my engineering days. We had this corporate readiness program And one of the trainer asked me, for the batch of 40, in fact, if someone had to confess or say something, you know, I was proactive back then, and I did make the courage of raising my hand and asking out in open. And as people say, when in trouble, when you're confused, ask it out, right? So I did make that courage by saying that, why is that I always poke myself, put myself down? I need acknowledgements from people. I start to validate every action of mine. And not just that, after every word that I utter, every action that I just perform, I carry forward all my present thoughts to the future, or I just keep thinking on it on and on and on. Right? That is when that mentor of mine clearly told me that, do not be a self-judge. Don't be a self-critic always. I mean, it is like not valuing your own self. And she did ask me to accept the way I am and to be very strong in my words and deeds, no matter what people around me say. So that one thing did touch me, and it has really made a difference in my life. And it was, a training for one whole week. And this incident happened on the first day. So on the last day of the training, there was another activity that this trainer of mine performed, and that was about appreciation. She asked if anybody here who wants to come forward and acknowledge someone's contribution in your life. Uh, Engineering was not a cakewalk for me. It was tough. I mean, most of them would resonate with this, right? For subjects like field theory, signals and systems, control systems, mathematics, M2, say in the VT University, a lot of complicated things. And I had a friend of mine who stood by me, who used to support me, and who made this engineering pretty much easy. So I thought this is the time to come and acknowledge and appreciate someone. So I took that proactive step of coming in front of the class and thanking that friend. And post that, I realized that, being happy with what you have and acknowledging people around you actually gives a lot of happiness overall. And this was the first step which actually taught me that I am good. I can do anything. I don't need anybody's validation. So it's a process, just like a sinusoidal wave. I kept on learning, and I'm still learning.
Super. Okay. Now that you mentioned this, Privil, I want to again go back to your first point that you mentioned, where you said, for you, it was mostly about the checklist of, my parents want me to achieve all of these things. I'm going to achieve, and then I'm going to be a good boy. You wanted to get framed in that good boy and all of that. From where did this gratefulness come into you, Privil? I mean, why gratefulness? And why is it that you're such a humble person? The reason I say that you're being a very humble person is it's not just with your seniors. I think even with your subordinates or anybody I've seen you while you were working with us also, I think you go out of your way to talk to them, to just take care of them. And why is it that you picked this up? I'm just asking you off thread, but I want to know from where did you pick that up?
I have realized over time that it's all about living life to the fullest. And we all breathe, we all live once, so we are here to make a difference. And that is why accept life the way it is and just go hug and be open for possibilities, explore. I mean, that has kept me happy, definitely.
Super. Okay. If I may ask, Privil, because I know it's 25 years and I know certain parts of you personally also very well. Where did your life take a turn? It all looks very nice. From the first two things that you mentioned, it all looks very nice. Where did your life take a turn? What really happened? Do you want to share some insights on that?
Sure. Sinusoidal, as it says,
Yes.
the
So we went up. Let's see what happened to come.
If you ask me normally what's the best moment of my life, I would say every moment that happened, every good moment that happened in my life is good. And every not so good moment that happened in my life was like a low moment. So I cannot specifically tell you what is my turning point. However, I would want to quote a few of the instances in my life. I've always, given my best in any activity that I've done, given my 100%. So that is something like giving my 100%, right? That's my 100% peak of happiness. And sad moments, yes, I have felt sad. at times I've gone like very, very, very low.
Hmm.
So it's a beautiful experience in itself about understanding my very own self.
Hmm.
So exactly what happened was after my graduation, all my engineering friends moved to their so-called, new roles, new career paths, and I was feeling as if I was all lost on that bed at home, just like how for the past 7 months we are all inside our homes. The same way I had a lockdown of myself for 7 months back when I got graduated.
Hmm.
And I realized that why am I here? What am I doing in life? Am I making justice to my own life? So this sequence of thinking, overthinking, questioning myself happened. And the people who pushed me to come out of this lower part of the sinusoidal waves were my parents. They said, any opportunity, any job, any task that you do is a wow factor in itself. You don't have to get the biggest thing that you deserve at immediately, right? So you start step by step, and that is when I realized that yes, it's time for a change in life, and I enrolled myself as a math tutor at one of the nearby schools near my place. And let me tell you, I had fun for 3 months with these kids. I taught students from 7th grade, 10th grade. So I really had some good fun, and I did teach these kids. So that kept me motivated that there is something happening in my life. I am staying on a positive note. But again, you see, the wave has to go, So again, I realized, oh, I have done engineering, but which is the roadmap that I'm taking, right?
Hmm.
So again, I went low. But my parents again pumped me up. So it was all about acknowledging and telling my parents that this is the time I need help. And they were always on their toes to support me. And that is when my teaching experience landed me up in an organization in Bangalore for a training profile. You see, that is how you keeping yourself occupied in a lot of things opens so many doors, right? So then I shifted to the so-called Bangalore culture, and I started working there a lot. I wanted to do all those things which I had not done for the past 9 months and my friends had done, right? So I wanted to cover all those things which I had done in the 7 months. So that was a kind of a struggle which was there I had. But keeping myself motivated, understanding was the turning point in my life. And to add on to what I'm saying, there was one specific phase where uh, I felt that there's nothing happening in my life. I'm here, I'm good for nothing. Or maybe I started putting myself down to such an extent that I was not able to come forward and uh, represent the way I am. There was a different version of me, and that is when I realized that as people have said, your mind and the gut is interconnected, right? So when you think a lot, your appetite will change, and if your appetite changes, your thoughts will be affected, and if your thoughts are even more affected, and then your health will be you will have to compromise on all of these things. So there was perfectly no balance at all with my professional and a personal life. So all these things happened, right? So now at this point of time, again, the people whom I was close with were my parents. So if we do not tell all of this to someone, then definitely we will carry it up within us and will suffer. So friends and parents were there for rescue. So the first message that I learned was, when you are in trouble, open up and speak up. So that's the point.
Right. In fact, this reminds me, Previl, saying, I just read a quote somewhere yesterday or today, I don't remember, where, the quote read as, if you're asking for help, it does not mean, you're giving up. It actually means you're not ready to give up. You want to really go ahead and, become more successful. And, I will actually tell you how successful Previl is in some short period of time. But before that, for all of you who are listening to us, I think what I want you to take back from what Previl is basically saying is, every person, irrespective of what backgrounds we come from, we will have those dips, we will fall, there might be moments that we go down, and it's not like it happens only once in a while, right? And it's not like overnight, okay, from tomorrow things will change. It will take a certain period of time. That's exactly what he's trying to tell you, saying, yeah, I got the job, but that's not enough, that's not the only thing. But I was still not satisfied with what was happening, and he had to still hold himself, brace himself, and then take him, motivate himself to take him towards his dreams. Now, for all those of you who have lost jobs during this period, or you're struggling during this period of not being able to find a job, campus placements have not happened, or if you have kids at home who are struggling again to find a job, or they're struggling with anything in life, it's not necessary that, struggles happen only to certain kind of people, especially mental struggles, right? If you look at Privil, he is a perfect example of everything's perfect in his life. His parents take care of him really well. He was a school pupil leader in school. He was doing extremely well in college. Weren't you, Privil? I'm sure even in engineering college, you were there everywhere. He's been an extrovert. Uh, he's a definition of, if you put it in a checklist, yeah, everything is perfect. I mean, how can this person even feel bad about himself? What is he even talking, is what we would think. But I think all of us go through those moments of saying, I don't think I'm enough. And when you go through something like that, having a sink, having somebody that you can go back to and talk to is very, very important. And I think that's exactly what Privil is trying to tell us. And if in case you are, today feeling low, allow yourself to feel that it's okay to sulk, it's okay to feel bad. But if it's going beyond a point, you really need to reach out for help. And that help can come in terms of friends, family, and they will later tell you if you have to go further and take some more help, and if they're not able to support you, right? Privil, for all of them who are listening to us, tell them what you are today. Before we go to the next question, tell them, what do you do? What all do you do? The reason I'm asking you this question, Privil, you don't have to be humble in this answer, is because, they have to know, saying, yes, a person who was not able to get a job, who sat at home for 7 months, who was wondering like, okay, my life is almost closed. Where is that person reached? Within a period of 3 years, 2-3 years, where are you today?
Yeah. So I don't know how do I share all of this, but yes, I am happily working in an MNC in the the sales enablement kind of a role, and I think the amount of people that I'm able to reach out to, the connects that I'm able to do in the corporate, uh, and not just that, I'm also part of the community. I call my beloved community called Toastmasters. So we have international, Toastmasters connecting, interacting to each other. So a lot of learning that I've gone through. I have had specific mentors and being part of some initiatives of certain NGOs. So I would want to make a special mention. I'm associated with an NGO called Being Social, which actually does a lot of work. So, when the pandemic happened, I did get to host a few events on the occasion of Breast Cancer Awareness Week. So I thought donation was not, donation in terms of money is not just the way that one can contribute, right? There are several other ways in which we can make a difference in the lives of people. So I did get to host a few volunteer meetups for this NGO. We also did an event for all the, for the flood relief fund for the flood that happened in Bihar. Yeah. And a little bit of plantation drives, proactive entertainment and engagement games. When your teammates feel down and feel low, just set up a Zoom call and play a game of Damsharats, play some Antakshari, sing, host shows, take go live on Instagram, sing for your followers, and do weird things. And I also believe in making people uncomfortable at times. That time they'll forget whatever tensions they have, and then they'll come back to the normal state. And I also did an interesting thing, let me tell you. We were all connected virtually, right? So I hosted this walking challenge for a group of 50. So I'm so glad that we collectively achieved 21 plus steps, 21 lakhs plus steps cumulative. And that's the biggest achievement. I think I made a lot of friends virtually, and we are looking forward to meet post-pandemic. So that's That's
Super,
what.
Prabal. And the things that he did not mention for people who've seen, and the ones that you're seeing him on the screen, and you might have probably wondered, saying, "I've seen him somewhere." He also hosts a lot of big events like the City Abba. So I think Electronic City, most of the corporates usually go there, and that's a good hangout place for every annually once, right? This happens, Prabal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he does host that. And being a fresher, I also want to give a shout out to Tech Mahindra for how good the culture that they've set up. Being a fresher, I think he got noticed for the way that he lives life, not by anybody else, but by the CEO of his organization, and he was nominated on a happiness challenge. Now, these are not things which happens overnight, right? Now, a person who is going through something so bad, if he is getting recognized by a CEO, what I'm trying to say is there is always light at the end of the tunnel. And if you want to, you can always spread happiness, not just for yourself. Like Privil that day was probably, shook inside. He had broken inside when things were not going fine. But today he is adding happiness to so many lives. And look at the happiness that he carries while he talks about being social, or about all the things that he tries to do to the world to keep them happy. It's all because, he understands the value of happiness. And thank you so much for that, Privil. Thank you for saying that, it's not about sharing money itself. On that note, I also want to tell our listeners and people who are watching us, in case you also want to make a difference, come share your life lessons with us. Tell us what have you learned in life. Tell us how is life treating you today. And so that, whoever watches, whoever listens to us, probably can take back a life lesson from you, and you can become a mentor for that other person who's looking for help, right? And before we go to the next question, in case you have any questions for Privil, please go ahead and put it out in the chat section there. I see a lot of comments coming in, though. I'll make sure that I'll pick up all those comments and read it for Privil in some short duration of time. But if you want to ask him something, go ahead and put the questions. I'll take the questions from there. And in between the session sometime, I'm going to be asking you one question based on what Privil has shared throughout. If you get that answer right, during this session, we've picked up this book for you, which is Life Lessons for the Youth by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. If you articulate your answer well, not as great as what Privil is doing, but something close to what Privil is trying to say, if you get that right, this book is going to be shipped to your home. Okay. But now going ahead to your next question. Privil, all this is good stories. We spoke about how, you took that turn, and we also spoke about, the way, life changed at a certain period of time. And then you're coming back to, to the better side. You're seeing light. What is the role of fears in your life, Privil? The reason I ask is, a person, when he goes down, we usually come out of it, but it's not so easy to let go of it. Those memories, I think, will still stick back to us. So how or what role does fears play in your life, and how much has it impacted you?
Yeah. So I have dealt with fear a lot of times, and fear is very, very important. It will teach you a lot of things. I'm still learning and juggling with a lot of things, being scared. I like to do it scared, as I've already, told you in the last session that we met. I believe in doing it scared. A lot of us have, a fear of losing someone, fear of not doing things right, fear of not able to maintain, not able to maintain that level of quality. We call it as standard guidelines, or feeling of being criticized, judged. So always these things made me seek for external validation, right? So instead of getting into this trouble of overthinking and all these things, what solution that I got was to seek for help. So any fear that you have can be solved, because you have your army with you, and that army, you are going to identify that army, who is the best person who can be with you throughout, right? So I would say the first person for your rescue, normally it should be your parents and your siblings. So my parents and siblings are an integral part of that army that I always am. And then coming to your mentors, your teachers, your coaches, so they actually have that experience in tackling such situations. So if you go and share your heart out open to them, they can actually give them their perspective. It's not compulsory that you have to completely listen to them. Rather, they will give you a different perspective so that you will get to know that, oh, I definitely have 4 5 options. I can definitely choose one of them. So that is
Yeah.
all about it. And definitely, Kripa, I want to make a special mention in one of the episodes of this life lessons. I went to the episode of dealing with death. That has taught me a lot. So I would rather say all the viewers to go back to the channel and watch this special episode as to how to deal with death. So that gives a lot of courage. Facing fear gives a lot of courage.
Yeah.
So that's
In fact, because you mentioned this, Privil, I also want to bring up another example. I recently watched a narration of Rana Dagupati, who played the villain in Bahubali. His life story was captured somewhere where he actually fell very badly in life because of a health complication that he was going through. I don't want to get into all the details, but what he said is, during the entire period, he didn't know how to come out of it because one of his kidney was not working. His heart had calcification, and then they said it's a maximum of 6 months to a year that he's going to be alive. Now, what he said during that entire thing is he was looking for one ray of hope. He wanted to see if somebody in life has actually gone through something like this. He went up, Google, tried searching for saying, is there somebody who's done this? Has somebody survived this? And the moment he found a story, he was like, okay, because somebody has done it, I also can do it. So it's all about that. It's about just seek for help. Just go figure out saying, has somebody done it? And I don't think there is any problem in this world which cannot be solved. It's about share it, get more people involved. I think that's what a bond really means. That's what friendship really means. That's what families really mean. It's not the social media. It's not about what we put out there and say things. I think that's also another part of why we actually get so depressed and feel left out. But always share all kinds of fears. I think from the time that we're born with 3 fears is what usually science says, and then we keep building a lot of other fears that we pick up over the time that we age. Till we die, we are only living with fears. It's about just making sure how well can you manage your fears and take care of it. And I think you beautifully said that, Privil, saying hang on, take help wherever you have to take help. Make sure that you have a good ecosystem that you build for yourself. When he says that, invest time in the right kind of people. It's not about just going and knocking at the doors of saying, okay, today I'm in trouble, I need help. It's about, no, I'm going to invest my time and get all kinds of the right kind of people in my life and keep investing and keep growing. I think that's the biggest investment that you need to do. Now, Privil, my next question before I take up all the audience question to you, the last time that I want to ask you is, you have been an extrovert, right? And you've been so good in terms of talking and all that. Where is this inferiority complex really coming from? You said that you actually had to deal with inferiority complex. You mentioned it now also. So do you want to, shed some light about it and say, because usually what we all assume is inferiority complex is with introverts. We think these are people who don't want to come out and talk, and that's why they feel very, very inferior. They don't know how to manage themselves and stuff like that. But being an extrovert, I know you're a super duper extrovert, and I think you're an ambivert also. At times I feel you're an ambivert or an extrovert, but I don't put you into the introvert category at all. So what is this inferiority complex? How did this come in, and what did you do to cope with it?
Yeah, so it was a journey of seeking external validation, confusion, So, probably the path that I've chosen of being a host, or maybe the speech or the talk that I do, right?
Yeah.
So every action that I perform was kind of making me think that, was I doing it right? So if you get into that loop of bringing in thoughts, and if you hang on to it, then the loop will keep on, it will be executed n number of times, and it is very tough to come out of it. So that is one instance which happened with me. So, and to come out of it, I did have two choices. One, I had to stop comparing, or rather, I would say not listening to people, or listening to people and trying to digest what they are telling, right? That will take a lot of effort, because okay, what the person is saying, I'll have to hear it. So I wanted to face this fear. Okay, So one approach that I use, which is really helpful to me, which I even now do, is being open to feedback or evaluations. Okay, so making yourself into a, bringing yourself to a zone where when people criticize you, you will just pick what is in it for you. Okay, you will just pick what is in it for you, the good that is required. So for that, when I joined Toastmasters, I was delivering my speeches and a lot of evaluations, a lot of feedback that used to come. So more when you experience something to the core, then you will, that threshold will be overshot, and then you will win the race. So that is what happened with me. I started getting a lot of evaluations, feedback, right? So that made me strong. And now when people tell me something, it is always that, I sit back, I relax, and then I will think, okay, whatever is required, I pick it. And whatever is not required, it shouldn't affect me on my life. So what I would like to quote here is, and it always keeps me motivating, that there is nothing right or wrong, nothing good or nothing bad. It's just the perspective. So it is up to us if you want to take it on. So that's the learning which I have.
Super, Previl. On that note, I also want to give a shout out to Deepak Ramola. Deepak Ramola is somebody who actually who's been collecting life lessons for time immemorial. I think I started collecting life lessons, getting inspired by what he was doing, and I wanted to do it in my own way. I recently saw, I think it must still be there on his Instagram profile if you go up and you look for it, because I saw that he'd yesterday put up something like this where he'd recently put out a book, and he'd asked people saying, if you have a question, ask me. And one person had asked saying, I'm an author, but usually when I write books, what basically happens is I feel so inferior about my writing, and I critique it so much that, I criticize it as badly as possible. I never put that out to anybody. So what Deepak said to him in his responses is, he said, there are two roles that you're playing. You're playing the role of an author and a critic. Always choose to be an author. To criticize, there's enough people outside, right? People will tell you, and you have constructive criticism where you can choose. That's what Previl is trying to say. Choose the right kind of people from where you can take, and take what is important. What's not important, you always keep it away. So what is our responsibility is holding on to ourselves. I think that is what he's clearly saying, like what Deepak was saying, hold on to yourself, hold on to your core strength, be yourself. Let the world tell you what is good, what is bad, and not everybody. Have your right circle, listen to them and improve and become better. But you don't have to push yourself down saying, I'm making comparisons, saying I'm not as good as this, or I'm not as fit as this person, or whatever. Make a choice of saying, you are an individual, you are unique, you are beautiful just the way you are, and you just have to allow yourself to flourish and grow and get better. Super, Previl. I think that was a fantastic answer. I'm going to pull out a couple of comments for you, because there's quite a lot of people who are writing a lot of things for you here. I think this is your friend, Nurul Amin. He says he's super excited to see the session, and he joined at 7:01, and he said, he's late. So Nurul, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you're having a good time listening to Previl and listening to his life. And there's Rishabh Patak, who says you're an energy bank. He's here and he says hello to you. There's Rajesh Tadpali, who says, and how fortunate I am to have someone like Previl to lean on and share everything. Must be, yeah.
I want to, these three people, I want to make a special note. They've always been a support system. I didn't even ask them to join the session. Maybe they just saw the notification and have joined in.
Yeah.
So these three friends of mine are like my, tea time friends. You go and prepare tea with them, and then sit with them and sip on a cup of tea and exchange thoughts, right?
Yeah.
So these are some most valuable friendships that have made over 25 years, I should say.
Yes. And, this is what the book of Fuga also talks about, where they say, Denmark is the most happiest country of all the countries, right? And there is a research which is done by a happiness researcher of saying, why is this country really this happy? Is because they invest time in relationships like this. They sit over a cup of coffee, talk and do everything. And kudos to your friendship, seeing all three of them here and saying, such beautiful things about you. I'm very proud of you, Praveen. And I think, Yeah, there is Babu again who says hello. I'm not sure if it's from your connect. He says hello. And yeah, this is my sister Shalini. She says, I think all of us feel what Privil has said, at least at some point of time. And she also wanted to face the fears that she had. And then she feels very nice listening to you. So thank you
Thank
so
you
much for that, Privil. All
so
right. So
much.
going further, if you guys have any further questions for him, go ahead and put it out there. I'm going to take those questions in some short period of time. And I think there's a lot of good that's already been spoken about him. Now, my next question to you is, Privil, I know you got nominated for the Happiness Challenge at Tech Mahindra. I also know that you're always happy. I even remember last time when we caught up, I was trying to figure out why is the system not working. I was not able to hear, and you were still singing for me. You were like singing and keeping the mode on. You were happy always, right? Give me 5 tips. Let's say I'm actually feeling very low now, or anybody who's listening to us might be feeling low, or probably they're not feeling low right now, but they might feel low at some particular point of time during their day. What are those 5 things that we can do to bring ourselves back from that dip towards light? What can we do? Give me 5 tips. I don't know if I can ask you like that, but give me.
First point, I like the way, Kripa, you've done some crazy research about me. I am like, okay, all these are checklists that have happened in my life. And coming to the 5 tricks, which I do generally. The first thing is, I have a big glass with me, a pint glass, I should say. So you should drink enough water. I mean, water, hydrate yourself, drink a lot of water. That's the first thing I would say. That will divert your mind, and you concentrate and drink a lot of water. And the next thing is, what I have done is, when I turned 25 this time, I just took a pledge of planting 25 saplings. Okay, so go and plant a sapling, or have a balcony garden. Go and water a plant at least. Just go and water a plant. So you are just adding value to something, right? So
Right.
that's the next thing I want to give as a small suggestion, which I normally do. And this has helped me a lot. That is guided meditation and deep breathing. So the deep breathing is something which I love to do. I've been doing it while on the session. When you were talking, I was just relaxing. So that helps me to relax.
Yeah.
And then the fifth thing, I want to break it into 3 pieces. Fifth thing, I can call it as gas, GAS. I took this tip from my friend called Jayant. So the first thing in GAS, right? G stands for grounding yourself. So just sit wherever you are, even if you're traveling the bus, you just think that your energy is going from head to toe. It's just going to Mother Earth. So that gives you a beautiful feeling, and it gives you you feel really comfortable. You feel you're in your zone, your mood.
Right.
So grounding, and then appreciation. Wow, that's the best medicine which anybody can get. It
Yeah.
is it is for free. So if you are entering the office campus, you have your watchman there. Acknowledge, especially the
Yeah.
COVID warriors. These are times when I went to office, I saw they were all with their PPE kits and all, right? So appreciation, acknowledging, A for acknowledgement. And the third one is speak to someone. Always have a phone. If you are connected to someone on chats, then
Yeah.
ring them, call. If you're connected to someone over the call, then disconnect, go and meet them in person. So this is that switch that I would suggest, which is very important. So these are the 5 things which I do always when I feel low, and these have actually brought me out of my, the
And I think these don't cost anything, right? This is about just at that moment what we can do to come back and to feel better. So I'm not going to repeat what he said. Now, this is the question which is going to make you win this book. Tell me, what is it that Privil told? What are those tricks that he gave us, saying, following these tricks, you will be able to you will be able to come out of that bad mode towards light. What is it that Previl told? Whoever gets it right, I'm going to make sure that this book gets shipped to you. Going further ahead, Previl, my next question that I want to ask you, because this has made a lot of difference in my own life, right? Where I've tried to figure out saying, how much can kindness impact a person? And I've seen it in multiple dimensions, and I think it's not just about the person who receives an act of kindness, it's also the person who's doing an act of kindness also feels a lot of happiness within, right? So it's a two-way thing. And I really want to pull out a lot of acts of kindness stories and put it out here, and make our audience remember saying there is always an opportunity to be kind, and just by one small act it can make a difference to a person's life. I want to know, has there been any act of kindness which somebody has played towards you, Privil, where it made a difference to your life? Do you want to give a shout out to an act of kindness where if you think about it, you're like, "Are you did this out of your way and it helped me, and I'm grateful for it." Is there something like that?
Uh, Definitely, I would want to take out my mentor's name at Toastmasters, who also prepped me up for this talk show. I should tell you. Her
Yeah.
name is Richa Bair. So she's my sister. I mean, we are like a family. We meet up, and it's been a long time that we met because of the pandemic, but
Right.
we are connected virtually. So the process of mentoring or supporting someone
Yeah.
is definitely an act of kindness which anybody can do, right? So
Very true.
being a mentee to someone, if you
Yeah.
get to learn life lessons from your mentor, there's nothing else that someone needs. And Kripa ma'am, I would especially want, when I was working in the organization that you were a part of, you have also supported a lot of times those fun events and all. So definitely mentoring definitely impacts a person, and that has definitely changed a lot in me.
Yeah, super Previl. In fact, this is something that I also want to tell everybody who's listening to us today. If I give you a minute's time to all of you who are listening to us, or you're going to watch this after the session is over, let's say you take this minute for you to figure out saying, is there somebody whom you know who's in trouble? I'm sure a name comes to your head, right? While I ask this question, already there might be a couple of names which is coming into your mind. If you really want to do an act of kindness, if you really want to make a difference, it can be as simple as calling that person and saying, hello, how are you doing, do you need some help, I know something has happened like this. Or just being a good listener is more than enough at certain points of time. And I think that is what Privil's act of kindness is, which he's giving a shout out to Richa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Richa.
Richa, thank you for being such a super duper person and for adding value. And I'm sure your one act of kindness has not just made a difference to Privil's life. And everybody who's going to watch this is going to take that back from you, Richa. So if you are watching us, hello and thank you so much for doing this. Going ahead, Privil, my last question to you before we wind up with this session, right, is let's say this is your last opportunity that you have to talk to the world, and you want to tell the world saying, hey, hello, I'm 25 years old, I was born in this world, and this is what I've learned in my life. And it's basically like, let's say you are holding a placard and saying, remember, this is what I learned, and you're showing that to the entire world out there. What is your last message, strong message, or slightest, smallest, warmest message, whatever it is? What is it that you want to tell the world, Privil? How has the world been? What do you feel?
So it's always okay to be not okay. So that I would want to say.
Mm,
And one more phrase that I always love is one day at a time, one step at a time.
mm,
And the next phrase that I always love is, you don't get opportunities, you will have to create it. So that these three things are pretty close to me.
yeah.
And then there's something called giving back. Give it back
Mm.
and make every minute or every nanosecond count and live life to the fullest. These are the things which I would want to, I want to share, which I just love to do.
Can you repeat that again, Privil? Because it's so beautiful. I think people should actually take that back. Can you repeat it one more time for all of
Yeah.
them who are listening to you?
So this is more about, one day at a time, one step at a time. And normally people don't wait for opportunities. You have to create opportunities.
Hmm.
And it's okay to be not okay. Okay, so that's what I summarize.
Yeah.
And then make every second or every microsecond count
Yeah.
and live life to the fullest.
I think that's the most beautiful way that you mentioned. I didn't even want to summarize it because you mentioned it so beautifully. I was like, okay, I'm going to ask this guy only to do it. I think with that, Pravil, okay, there is one more person who's come in. Yeah, I think this is Jyoti Damodaran, who says you're
Oh,
the most jovial person that she knows, and she's extremely happy about being a part of your community. I think with that, Pravil, we come to the end of our session today. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you shared. It's not, because usually what I've seen, especially with the older generations, right, they think what's there to learn from a younger generation, or they think no, this generation is always just partying, there is nothing that they go through. That those are the regular talks that we hear, but it's not the same, right? It's always, there is a saying in Kannada, I don't know if you know, they say durid betta nunnige. It's basically saying, yeah, from the far it looks like, yeah, it's not something which is difficult, but every life has a lesson, every life has a story, every life has that precious gems of wisdom. And thank you for sharing it with us today. Thank you for showing, giving us a glimpse into your life and saying, hello, this is who I am, this is my path, this is what I've walked. And hopefully somebody takes back some life lessons from you, and the next time they're in trouble, they know, okay, Privil had told me something like this and I can take it back. Like how you mentioned Kasturi's session on death, somebody might probably be listening to us today who's also going through a low moment and take it back. On that note, I also want to tell, um, one of the main reasons that I wanted to pursue and continue Project Nyan is Privil. Privil does not even know this. I think I don't know if I mentioned it. Privil's session happened. I think you were the second or the third session, right, Privil? When we did
yeah,
happiness, this was the second or
yeah.
the third session where we were collecting life lessons on happiness. And Privil came up on the session for like 4 minutes or 5 minutes, and then he had an internet issue and it died. He was saying that he was fighting depression, and there was something that he was trying to get out of. And he also said life has become so beautiful. That's all we could hear. We couldn't hear anything further from there. Then he was gone. We were like, "Arey, we lost him." And then we had two more guests who continued to talk. I got a message on Project Nyan Facebook page that day from an individual saying, he was planning to commit a suicide because he thought, life is not that great at that age for him to go through something like that. But Privil's story gave him strength. And that story was like 4 minutes. I don't think even 4 minutes Privil was there and he was able to talk. And that person sent back a message saying, Privil saying this gave me courage of saying, I can also probably get successful in life. And every time I feel, okay, let's take a break from Project Nyan because it's not my mainstream job. I still go back to that message because you never know who will learn what. And Privil, you've already lit a lot of lights that you don't know. So thank you so much for sharing
Like
this
that.
opportunity and for sharing these life lessons, because you never know who's going to learn what from whom, right? So thank you once again, and I hope you had a good time joining us. And if there is anybody who's listening to us today and wants to come back and share life lessons, please go ahead and do so, and also subscribe to the channel if you want to get access to more such life lessons in the future.
Thank you so much, Kripa, for having me here. And I'm really happy that I came forward and I really got an opportunity to interact to all of you. So thank you so much, and all the very best to Project Gyan. I am really looking forward to more such exciting life lessons. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Privil. Sending you warmest of hugs and love. And namaste. Thank you. And yeah, before we end, on this Thursday, we're going to be having a person from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, who also is the public relations officer of IIMs, who is going to be coming and sharing light about the present and the future of management studies in India, and what's really happening during COVID times. Why are people, is it a good time to go out and study abroad, or is it a good time to stay back in India? And is it only CAT and GMAT, or is there some other ways that you can get into IIMs, and what all can you do? I thought it would be a good session, not just about a life lesson. Yeah, it's a lot of life lessons though, of 20 years of a person putting in that effort and working for an IIM. With that, we will also be getting a lot of knowledge sharing during that session. So do join us in case you have aspirations for joining an IIM, or somebody who wants to join an IIM, or somebody who wants to go study abroad. Anybody who wants to do a master's, come and join. Okay. On that note, see you. Thank you so much, and bye bye.